How has music changed?
Biggest component that's missing is the love.
And we allowed the music to change because we were all just focused on getting our own bags.
Music, and hip hop specifically, was an art form. And when you give an art form to hustlers, they destroyed it.
I don't think it's that people aren't creating music out of love. There are still some of those people. But the problem is the machine also still has to promote those people.
Technology has allowed us to bypass the talent. And so now music doesn't have any feeling.
It's clear that there's an impact on the community itself just by the fact that we now have everything's about sex, 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 sex.
The relationship between black people and music is different. So when you start tweaking with our music, you're not just changing how we dance, you're changing how we vibe.
How has music changed, right? We grew up in a certain generation and we're hearing the music today, right? How has it changed and the impact that you think music is having on us as a culture? What are your thoughts on that, just broadly speaking?
I think the biggest component that's missing is the love. You know, and the last savior of that was R&B. And once that became dissolved, in my opinion, then that was it. And now, you know, obviously what they say, hip hop is the leading genre of music, right? Which to me killed R&B off. And then we get to that, and then it was like the last part of R&B, even now. And, you know, that's why you hear R&B's making a comeback, R&B's making a comeback, and it's not making a comeback.
What you mean?
It's not. I
Deion
think
Thomas, some of these brothers, I mean, what kind of R&B are you talking about specifically? Because I feel like you got like toxic R&B versus like what some people would say the simp R&B.
well, mainstream, right?
Not simp R&B.
So,
I should have known.
so I put it to you this way. When maybe sometimes in the 90s we had, was it Urban AC, right?
Okay.
And then it's like now Urban AC is R&B opposed to now R&B is hip hop / R&B. It's not totally its own thing. It has to be infused with hip hop for the younger people to accept it. And that's the problem. And then with the content alone, the love was going out of the content. Now it's just like, before was, I love you. You weren't afraid to beg.
The
Then
simp
it-
R&B.
Now it's like, right, exactly. But now it's just like, I met her in the club.
Put your
Did
panties
it in
to
the
the
parking
side.
lot. Did it, and it's like, whoa, we skipped over the love. So that's why they say like 90s was the last decade of real R&B.
Well, Christal, let me ask you real quick, because I feel like, did the music change because we changed? Like, which came first?
See, I don't think that it's really the love or the feeling rather that changed, because it wasn't just love, it was heartbreak, it was all those things. I think it's the technology, because I think that when music was being created, you know, in decades before, there was talent that went into it. So you had to know how to play, you had to actually write, there was talent. So technology has allowed us to bypass the talent. And so now music doesn't have any feeling, because the talent is where we got the feeling from, was someone that was sitting there playing that bass guitar where you could feel, right? Now we got technology creating that, right? So then you had someone that was writing lyrics. Now at this point, we're about to have AI writing music.
And
so you're taking, writing, singing, producing, and distributing.
Performing on low key.
Would you say it was the shortcuts that we're taking?
I
Because
think,
now
yes.
music isn't even as long. It used to be
It's a
3
TikTok-
verses,
it's
3
a
minutes long.
TikTok
Now
reel.
it's a 1.5 minutes long.
But people don't even, there are so many records, people don't even know the rest of the record. You take the Beyonce, I feel like falling in love.
Yeah.
All you know is the amount of time that is a TikTok reel, right? So it doesn't take, it's the technology that we think, we love technology because it has allowed things to go faster. Think about when we were growing up, an album would take forever to make because there was actual skill, there was actual, love poured in, like time. Now, artists have to put out, you got to feed the beast because technology is driving it. So it has taken the soul out of it.
What did they say? Music, video killed the radio star, right? It was a song. That's what they said when MTV first started, right? So now you're saying, which is true, technology killed the television star.
I hear y'all.
Think about Candy Girl. Now, I love New Edition. I'm a big New Edition fan, right?
Okay.
However, you listen to the OJs, right? Or the Temptations,
My favorite group, by the way.
the music, and then you hear, not quite the same, but we liked it because we were younger, we swallowed it. So then you flip that into now, there's no instrumentation. There's nothing real. Like there's no live instrumentation at all. But we don't look, people would say, I would say, well, New Edition was a part of the technology. No, never. But it really was. It literally small things. And now it's just technology now is moving so quickly. We're not realizing that it's gone.
I hear you, right? Because, but the kids there's still heartbreak that happens, right? So a kid who can have heartbreak can use the same technology and the same internet to move forward, right? It doesn't change on whether or not it reaches the public, because there's a whole different machine when it comes to music, like the music business, right? But even before we get into that, I guess the first question I want to ask y'all, or continue the question, was, did we change or did the music change, right? Like, which came first? Because we're seeing people twerking more, for example, right? Certain type of behavior, for example, right? And we're saying this is bad behavior. We should not see it, right? Proliferation of gangster image, you got to be thug, whatever. So my question to y'all is, which came first? Was it that we changed and the music changed, or then the music changed and then we changed?
I think the music changed. I think the music changed and we changed because the music went from being an expression of self, an expression of culture, expression of an emotional reality of the human experience, and became this commercialized commercial. You know what I'm saying? Give me two per. Everything became a commercial.
True. I think
you know what I mean?
too.
And so instead of the music being generated from the grassroots, from the block, you know what I'm saying, from the bottom up, it began to be fed to us from the top down. And then we were like, even if we were like, we don't like this, when it plays on the radio 11 times, you can hate the song and still find yourself humming it because it's stuck there. It's ingrained, you know what I mean? And then somebody hear you humming it, they go, oh, that's a new hotness. I'm gonna go play that too. So I think that the music changed, and we allowed the music to change because we were all just focused on getting our own bags, and we didn't feel like we had a responsibility to the collective. And I think once the music changed, it changed us.
I'm just going to co-sign on all of that because I personally feel like the music changed first because it's part of programming. So everything we listen to, everything we watch, everything, to include this right here, is meant to influence us, right? And so when we change the music, i.e. when the music changed, it automatically caused cause and effect of influencing us, and therefore we change. If you think about in the 90s and so forth, when they first introduced gangster rap as an example, and then all of a sudden you saw such a rise of gangster rap, and then you saw less and less music styles getting played, and then you saw an increase in certain violence, right? You saw blacklisting of certain artists, and I say blacklisting in the sense of like conscious music and so forth, continue to take a downward swing. So I'm just gonna say I agree with all of that, but recognizing this is just a part of programming. It's a matter of fact, it's more or less art imitating life, imitating art.
I would say, hold on, but I don't know, man, because listen, the business is designed to be exploitive, right? If you figure something is working, why not keep the party going, right? When Jay-Z and company was doing Rockefeller, they just wanted to get some bread. They were on their hustle. They saw that hip hop was an opportunity for them to make money. And then eventually Jay-Z became the head of Def Jam at some point in time, right? Going from a rapper to being a president over an organization. He could have made change if he saw fit. In fact, Jay-Z is also still Rock Nation, if I'm not mistaken. Correct. So it's not like you don't have us who look like us who are at the top levels of the business.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I don't buy when people say that it is like it's the man. What I think is, I worked for Chuck D years ago, and he made a statement I think that clarifies all this. He said music, and hip hop specifically, was an art form. And when you give an art form to hustlers, they destroyed it, because then it becomes all about the hustle, it becomes about the money, it becomes about the commercialization, and there's no more feeling. So I do think when, you know, the OJs, you know, wherever they were in the creating, it was not a hustle. It was, I want to do music because I love this. This is what I have to do. I'm an artist. Now I think people get into artistry because of the perks.
I hear you on that, right? But there are people having real experiences. We've all dealt with heartbreak, right? And we express our art through different platforms. So for example, some of us may express our art through podcasting, right? So what I'm saying is that if the playing field is even, and there's people still having real emotions, why won't those talented people who also have the same access to technology can do the music that still resonates? Because I feel like what's missing is, in other words, I don't think it's that people aren't creating music out of love. There are still some of those people. But the problem is the machine also still has to promote those people. When you open Shopify, for example, right? Even today, you'll see an artist promoted on your, as soon as you open the app. I don't know who this is, and I don't even know why they're showing me this artist, right? Or if you go to playlisting, which seems to be like the new payola, if you will, which is more legitimized, right? Because it used to be back in the day, low key, you probably just throw the little producer, the program manager, a couple of dollars, and you gonna keep the party going. But now it's like they kind of change it because of Spotify. So I feel like it's a mixture of all of what you guys are saying, but to me, the profit motive is what changes the game. Because they are the corporations. I know you don't believe in a man, but when you talk about who gets spins and who doesn't, who gets promoted, who doesn't. In fact, Drake, one of the biggest artists, after going through the beef, was suing one of the record labels because he said, hey, y'all purposefully promoted this other artist at the detriment of me.
The same thing
and
they
I'm
did
the
for
biggest.
him.
That's fine. But he's still calling out the fact that they're the ones who pull the strings like that.
But that's also the nature of things. So money rules the game. So if by the time they've convinced the public, this is what you want, hear this song, because back in the day you mentioned like when you hear a song over and over again, they learn, we can decide who gets the number one record by telling you. I'm a writer, so I grew up in a generation where we would get a submission, we had to listen to it, and then write and give it however many mics it got. We're not doing that these days. I want 5 mics on this. I'm sending you this money. Make it happen. Right. I want this to be on the front of Shopify. Make it happen. So again, it's taken out. So that is going to squeeze out that person that's really trying to write the song about love, because it's a big commercial,
when
machine.
art meets corporate interests, art always has to compromise.
Art always has to lose.
And that's the one thing. And then secondly, like you were talking about heartbreak, there's no soundtrack for that. You know what I'm saying? It's now it's simply this money and sex. That's it. And or the things to get money and sex. But there's nothing else. So whether the heartbreak soundtrack, I'm growing up, we had New Edition. I'm lost in love. Where's the lost in love right now? There is none.
Facts.
They're pulling panties to the side.
But
They'll call them people simps.
I've heard a lot of people say, like, with all the technology, it's up to us as consumers to find the people who are talking about that. We can't say that music does not exist.
Right.
Because that music does exist.
But we don't really want that. Really, we are part of a influential mass. It's groupthink, right? So you know that the idea of groupthink, when one is doing it, all the other little mice follow. So it's like, this is what you guys should be listening to. But that machine only follows what we say. If people said, we want real music, right? We want October London. We want these artists that are doing that. And I want them at the same level. I'm not going to say anything negative about Christopher Maurice Brown, because we have a lot of respect for him.
Not his government name.
I had to PSA there. He is excluded from this conversation. But as opposed to someone else that's doing more commercial music, the masses don't want it. The masses want to move with technology. They want to move forward. They don't want it. Now it's simp music. The Temptations would be simps today.
No, I disagree, because again, they're being fed these things. I don't think that people really know what they want. To your point, you said before, if they get programmed.
Yes.
If you play a song on the radio 10 times, I hated the first 3, but the fourth, I'm like, this ain't not bad. Let's be happy. So I disagree, and that's why I'm pushing back a little bit more, because I think people are creating it, but the artists who are creating it are saying, nobody can find us because we're being flooded with all kinds of information all the time.
Yes.
Right? There's a lot of attention
span.
span.
To grow back. Like Snoop grabs October London and he pushes them. It takes that person to grow back and get, but this generation, the youth killed music.
But we
kept getting younger and younger and younger.
But music has always, Tupac died at what age? Music was always young if you're going to keep it a G,
but
like,
we
to a certain extent.
Stayed, but we had that, then we had Tony Braxton. It's no variety. We just stay here.
I hear you, but I want to get you guys the last on this conversation, because I feel like as older folks, we got to be careful just a little bit, because older. Like we're
talking to you.
Some of the kids will call us from the 19s. Have y'all heard that? The 19s. If you were born in 19 something,
you know what? I did hear.
So I'm saying for those. So let me rephrase. For those of us born in the 19s, okay,
whoever you are,
we got to be careful, because some of the young kids will say, whether it's Bryson Tiller or whoever, they are creating R&B that's expressive of real emotions that they're dealing with. So I don't want to disregard that they're having a different experience. And For the unheard artists who are still out there struggling, trying to make it out there, they're saying, man, the system is blocking us because there's gatekeepers. We all know about gatekeepers, right? But before we get out of here, though, in terms of the impact, though, right? Because we talked about the business, but for the average consumer who's hearing this music, right, and being influenced by it, what do you think that influence is and how detrimental it is to the community?
It's clear that there's an impact on the community itself just by the fact that we now have this conversation about Sims, just by the fact that we now have everything's about sex. And there's a total disregard for, I'm going to say, the woman in some cases, as in most cases. I believe that it's a total disregard for women in general because now it has become an accepted culture to treat women as bitches, hoes, and so forth, and call them these things if you're looking at the rap. And if you're looking at R&B, we also have like, so for example, I thought Tank, when he first came out, he was going to be like a mix between millennial and somewhat maybe Generation X, maybe a little bit. And but then when you actually listen to his lyrics are straight up just, I'm gonna say effing because I want us to be cool on YouTube, you know, versus making love.
That was a good song.
Right, exactly. And so I thought he was gonna bring it back at first, but then I started listening to the lyrics and I was like, I need the clean version. And so I think this is part of the problem.
Did you need a clean
So
version?
I don't even know.
He's making up stuff now.
Apparently,
That's what people do on podcast
too dirty.
mics.
She's like, I need to
On
clean her.
podcast mics. We don't listen to R. Kelly anymore, lying asses. But go ahead, man.
I'll briefly say, I think that one thing we've missed from this conversation, we haven't really brought in, is that the relationship between Black people and music is different than any other people in music. We feel our music. Our music's been part of our storytelling. It's been part of our culture. It's been part of how we hand our history down and all these other things. Even before we got to this country, even in Africa, music was how we did politics. It was how we did social arrangements. It was marriages. Music was at the forefront or the background of everything we did. So it's ingrained in us. So when you start tweaking with our music, you're not just changing how we dance, you're changing how we vibe. You're actually tinkling with the psyche. And I think, you know, not to overthink it, but I think that's the part that's missing. I think we are really connected to vibrations and music in a way that a lot of people aren't. So, well, you can dismiss, oh, it's just music, it's just this, it's entertainment. It's not just that. There's more to it. It can affect you.